Good evening. This is the Channel 1 television news. Relations within the Commonwealth are not yet well defined, but the army has no responsible owner. At the same time, armed conflicts are beginning right next door. In Grozny today, curfew was introduced. In Minsk, the defense minister of the Commonwealth nations is preparing draft treaties. We now have several enemies. One of them is our own economy. The Belarusian tractor workers renewed their strike today. Ruslan Khasbulatov meets with trade unions in Siberia. In the Russian government, there is a new shadow cabinet. Our team wins a gold medal in biathlon. Now, 30 minutes of news, information, and commentary. After the end of the Union, many peoples found themselves in a dilemma. Most have chosen independence. Unfortunately, some are beginning to fight for that independence, including with weapons in hand. In Chechnya, this is right next door. It's in Russia. Weapons are flowing into Grozny, and curfew is introduced there today. The introduction here today of a state of emergency in the Chechen Republic is the result of the Saturday and Sunday events when an unidentified group of armed attackers attempted to seize the military bases of the Commonwealth located on the Chechen Republic. We could not establish telephone contact today with that republic, and we are receiving contradictory information. On the one hand, the situation is stabilizing. The Council of Elders there greeted the state of emergency and asked citizens to turn in all illegally obtained weapons. Most legal weaponry here is hunting guns, but the Chechen forces are armed with much more than shotguns. How they legally obtained military weaponry is unclear. All the officials of the Republic deny participation in the recent events. They unanimously say that it's a provocation. Some of them blame it on the remnants of the Soviet Party nomenclature and the mafia. Others blame imperial-minded officials in the Russian leadership. However, the situation seems to be stabilizing. President Dudayev has created an investigative group and has taken reliable control over the Chechen National Guard. This policy is consistent with the government's desire to create sovereignty in the Republic, including all of its attributes, including an armed force. Now it's easy for them to get to the remaining weaponry since they control all the military bases in the Republic. This information is confirmed by reports from Grozny, where special forces report that there is theft occurring of the army's weapons, construction materials, and military equipment. We talked by telephone today by Chief Infantry Commander Vladimir Simonov, asking him to comment on the events there. He said that information is contradictory and it is impossible to make conclusions now. Economic contact between the Chechen Republic and Russia began in the 17th century, and Chechnya became part of Russia in 1859. Its main wealth is oil fields, and the main industry is oil processing. There are no other independent industries there. The Soviet army has become an army without a country, and there is no unified command yet. The main thing in the conditions which have arisen is to avoid military chaos. But how? Relations between the military leaders of NATO countries are governed by many thousands of documents. We have no documents yet, but this is just for now. According to information, on February 14th, the Commonwealth heads of state will meet in the Belarusian capital and sign about 15 documents. Military documents are being prepared in Minsk among the CIS defense ministers. The negotiations are very complex there, we understand, and it is impossible at this time to make conclusions about them. Now we have several fronts. One of them is the economy. In Russia, and not only there, there is a severe cash crisis. It is difficult to match income with expenses, and prices, as promised, are rising fast. Today, the miners at the Staligorsk mines in Belarus began their strike today, and one of the largest enterprises in East Siberia is on the verge of collapse, the Priorgonsk cheese processing plant. Although its warehouses are overflowing with butter, cheese, and sour cream, trade organizations refuse to pay their prices. And in the stores of the regional center there, only 2 kilograms of butter have been sold in recent days. The Russian Trade Ministry reports that food reserves are diminishing with each passing day. Meat supplies will last for 12 days, lard for 1 month, and sugar for only 1 day. The current prices on fuel, equipment, and fertilizer will lead to the fact that even the most profitable collective farms will face large losses by the end of the year, including this collective farm in Turkmenistan, which is often shown to foreign visitors. So what can you say about the Sverdlov collective farm, which was recently renamed the Nadijik collective farm, which has never managed to pull itself out of debt? This is a collective farm which grows potatoes but has no seed production base of its own. Seeds are brought from Belarusia and Ukraine. The collective farm is forced to sell its potatoes by fixed prices because of this. So the residents of Ashkhabad and the surrounding areas enjoyed a form of social protection. They had the opportunity over 1 month to buy potatoes at fairly low prices, but the situation is changing rapidly now. The seed fund is in dire supply. A kilogram of seed now costs 4 to 5 rubles. Can we give the land to the people? No, we cannot. We have 15,000 people living here and only about 4,000 hectares of land. There's not enough land or water or equipment or fertilizer. Our people refuse to take land. The Speaker of the Russian Parliament, Ruslan Khasbolatov, arrived in Tyumen today. Because oil is so important, it means that the big-time politics are involved. The peculiarity of the oil industry in our country is that it can put pressure on the government because of the threat of strike, but its workers believe they are the victims of inflation more than others. Khasbolatov is meeting with workers in the northern regions today. The Russian Parliament Speaker began his visit here with a visit of the old Siberian village Kamenki. The Speaker said that the main feature of land policy must be resolved without show farms. The mass movement toward farms is impossible now, if nothing else, because of the unpreparedness of the government itself. And this does not mean that we will be conservative or that we will delay the process of development of our farms. We must support everything which makes sense for the normal life of our people. This is how I understand it. Today in Moscow, at the Foreign Ministry Press Center, there was a press conference devoted to the fate of the new free economic zone, Yantar. Representatives of the domestic and foreign press acquainted themselves with a new phenomenon in our life, the Kaliningrad Yantar Free Economic Zone and the Investment and Finance Company Alliance, which is formed here. The company will devote itself to increasing the social progress of the area, in the first place improving the transportation sector. Kaliningrad is a warm water port, and its close proximity to Western Europe capitals makes it Russia's main gateway to the West after the secession of the Baltic states. This enclave could become a model for the future revival of the Russian state and its integration into the West. The necessary infrastructure must be created here to launch market mechanisms, and the government lacks the necessary resources to do this. Therefore, this Alliance Investment and Finance Company is being formed here, and it is receiving contributions from commercial structures in Russia, including the president of the International Stock Exchange Congress, Konstantin Paravoy. This is the uniqueness of our new phenomenon in our life. Our young third estate is beginning to take part in the solution of these enormous patriotic problems. They plan to invest up to 30 billion rubles, so private capital will be used to the good of the country. Recently, Yegor Gaidar announced to journalists the new reform implementation timetable. He said that 2 years will be necessary to see light at the end of the tunnel. For now, we are still crossing the desert. Gaidar proposed a slogan, better not to borrow, but live within our means. No one else has proposed a more rational economic formula, although the greatest economic minds are working on it. Today, the the meeting of the Commonwealth economists began at the Institute of Economics in Moscow. There is a chance to create a unified economic space today. A shadow cabinet is being formed in the Russian government. Its creation was announced at a press conference at the White House today. Its purpose is to develop an alternative strategy and tactics for the transition to democracy. Its initiators are the Radical Democratic faction, the newspaper Arguments and Facts, and the Democratic Support Fund. Information without commentary. The UN has published the appeal of Ukrainian Prime Minister Witold Fokin, his open letter to the international financial circles. He urges them to